Welcome back to another Release Over 20 live giveaway. This one's for October of 2024. And we've got some pretty cool stuff again besides our giveaway to talk about, some announcements and special guests. And before we go any further, we've got our entire board of directors here. I'm going to bring them on. And hey, guys, how's everybody doing?
Hello.
Doing great.
Doing great. Yeah, Adam, I hope you had a good time on your trip.
Yeah, thanks.
You got a little jet lag?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a long trip home.
Nice.
For sure. But good time. Thanks.
Good. Glad to have you back. Carrie, you found some signal.
I did, yeah. Work out in the barn.
Didn't quite work. You need to get yourself a Starlink or something.
I will. I'm just waiting for the house to get lifted and all that good stuff. So
there you go. All right, Michael, how you doing, bud?
I'm good.
You're in the marsh. Are you fishing?
I wish. Yeah, this is every day when I wake up. This is where I want to be.
Yeah,
that's you guys
right?
Probably recognize the area.
Yeah, I know that spot.
Looks like all the spots in Charleston, pretty much.
That one just has a bunch of popping corks wrapped around power line or phone line or something.
Nice.
That's Bobbledanger Creek. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
Yeah.
Kind of weird time. This is a weird year in Charleston. The water's still 70 degrees, and it's first weekend in November, and we still have bluefish and bait stealers and tons of bait around, and all the things I look forward to in November about the bite and everything is yet to happen for me. I'm just waiting for some cold fronts to come through. Man, I'm waiting for it. How about you guys?
Adam and I were just talking about this today.
Yeah.
We're just talking about, we just seemed like this time last year, we had 2 months of water between 60 and 52.
Yeah.
And, a little warm spell, a little cool spell, but it seemed like we're back on the fish within a matter of 4 or 5 days. We haven't seen water drop below 68 degrees, really.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, I hope it'll come soon enough, but.
Yeah, but how long will it last? That's the question, right?
I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe we'll get a longer mid-pocking season.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be spoiled with 10 weeks of perfect water temp instead of,
Well, hopefully we'll not get this giant cold snap and then it kills everything. But anyway, I'm going to bring on Don from Mississippi. How's it going, Don?
That's good. It's good. Our water temps got up to 81 today.
Wow.
So been as low as 65, 66, and back up to 81 now.
Nice. You looking good, Don. You been out jogging and stuff?
Well, I took your advice. I quit drinking.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Losing some weight.
Nice. Yeah.
That's the reason why I quit. I cut out all sugars and quit drinking for a while and starting to drop some weight.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. Good job.
You been fishing at all?
Say again?
You been fishing it all, Don?
Yeah, we went last Friday and went today, and it's been good. A lot of fish, a lot of small fish. Today we had, biggest fish was 19 inches, but we had 15 keepers and about 30 or 40 throwbacks. All released. We released everything today. 2 redfish and a couple flounders. So it's like y'all was saying, man, we still got pinfish. We still got croakers. We still got shrimp everywhere. It's tough with artificial right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's weird. I mean,
I had a pretty good day on Friday last week, but I feel like I did the 20 under 20. It's I caught more trout than I should have for one person, and obviously left that spot to try to find some bigger ones, but they were feeding frenzy. So, but The water did seem a little bit colder on that day, but it definitely seemed to pick back up.
Michael, did you find any other fish after you left that spot?
I did, yeah, a little bit further up.
Friday was weird for me. I had a buddy in town, and he came in on Wednesday. We fished Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that cold front came in on Friday night, and we caught fish Thursday and Friday. But then, and we did catch fish on Saturday, but Sunday it was shut up. Tide wasn't good either, but it was shut up in the water. That southeast wind was just muddying up the waters really bad out there at Bulls Bay and Price Inlet. We couldn't find any clean water.
I went out for a few hours Saturday, and the water was real dirty, and I couldn't find any fish.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get started here on our program. So a few announcements first. We mentioned this last month, but we won this. It's sort of like a grant, but it's called the Create-a-thon, and it's at the University of South Carolina marketing students. And what you do is you apply to the program. We were one of, I don't know how many, maybe 100 nonprofits that applied. And I think we were one of like 6 that got accepted. And what they do is they pull an all-nighter, a 24-hour create-a-thon, and they create marketing materials at no cost to us, except for paying for their refreshments like coffee and tea, and other people cover like snacks and stuff like that. But we handle the coffee, and it kicks off tomorrow at I think first thing in the morning, and it goes all day. So Saturday at 2:00 is the presentation where we get to go and sit and listen to what they've created for us. Couple things that I've asked them to do is make digital media for us. That could include billboards and other media like you see at bars, like on the screens that are sort of showing advertising and different announcements. We've got the option of doing billboards, which we had going for a while, but we were trying to get those going again. In the Charleston area, they've been running in Virginia for 2 or 3 years, but also have an opportunity to potentially do to have these running in like other locations like bars and places like that. So that's going to be exciting to see what they come up with. And then also they're going to do like an infographic sheet that we can use to talk to potential donors and sponsors, that kind of talks about our reach and stuff like that, and make some really nice graphics around that. So looking forward to seeing what they come up with. We'll probably share some of that, either on our media or maybe at the giveaway next month. But anyway, wanted to talk about that. That's exciting. Also, wanted to talk about adding striper. Added striper to the program November 1st. And I wanted to take this just for a minute and talk about the why. And I just wanted to show this here. This is a really good resource. It's the American Saltwater Guides Association. They're another nonprofit. And they've got a really great podcast, and they do a lot with tracking like striper. The gist of it is right there in the headline. The primary spawning location for all the striper above North Carolina is the Chesapeake Bay, and they do sampling of the young of year. And what they've found out is that this is the chart. So since like 2019, there's now been 6 consecutive years of poor spawns, and the black is the average. And you can see there's this like giant gap in abundance of fish that are going to be the young ones. And if you know much about striper, they're very, very heavily regulated by the ASFMC in the states that are under that guidance. So release over 20, if you take it literally, doesn't really make sense too much, similarly to how redfish all pretty much have an upper slot all around the country. But the thinking is that we can use our platform to help, and help in the following ways. What we do, if you follow us, you know that we spend a lot of time educating about the biology of the species, which kind of, the more you learn, the more it's like usually pretty obvious as to the why you should release bigger fish. But the importance to striper is twofold. So first of all, a fish 6 years old is going to be like 27 inches. Any striper from 0 to 27 inches for the next 6 years is going to be very, very hardly any of them there. But there's going to be a relative abundance of big fish. Well, those are the spawning stock. So not only is it important to release the little fish because there aren't very many of them, they need to grow up and reach spawning age, but we need to protect the big fish because they're the ones that are left to spawn. So talking about best release practices and whatnot, and rewarding people who do release fish is all aligned with our mission, which if you know, our mission doesn't include the number 20 inches anywhere. It's all about the vision, which is doing what we can to make a better abundance of fish in the future. So striper need our help. We have a platform, we can help. To me, it's a no-brainer, but I just wanted to talk about the why, because we've got a few questions about does it really make sense about 20 inches? And we're going to have a bunch of posts that sort of clarify this as we go forward. We're still sort of developing those, but anyway, that's the why in a nutshell. So exciting to me. I know hopefully to y'all too, to have striper. Also, we're probably going to start seeing entries from New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine. So it's also kind of exposing more people to the nonprofit and the cause. So this is the exciting part. This is our main feature of the night. I wanted to introduce our newest state rep, which is Captain Evan Wheeler. I'm going to bring him on just in 1 second, but I wanted to show this graph of Florida. So we have now 3 state reps for Florida, and they're sort of geographically separated. So we have Brandon, who is the originator of the Race to 20 tournament, if you remember that. He's active duty Coast Guard. He's actually a helicopter pilot, and he's deployed, so we haven't heard a lot from him recently, but he'll be back at some point. I think y'all know Kyle. So Kyle's down on Punta Gorda, which is, you can see it's sort of like halfway down the coast on the west coast. And now we have Evan, who is at our Pensacola. So we call him like the panhandle rep. And how did we get Evan on board? So Evan reached out to me through Instagram and a few times just asking questions. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him on. So let's see if we can highlight him here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm sort of struggling here. That's okay. We'll remove this. And we want to highlight Evan. How do we do this? Fumbling here. Sorry, guys. Let's see. There we go. Thanks for your patience. Hey, Evan.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. So Evan reached out to me and most recently asked if we could get some trifolds because he was talking to his local tackle shop about the program, and they were excited about it and wanted to have something that people could come in the shop and sort of take home, and it gives them an overview of the program. So I went and had some made, and we sent some to them, and they're there in the shop. And lo and behold, another shop's going to get them, right, Evan?
Yeah, we're in 2 already, and got the 3rd one. As soon as I get them, we'll get them there too, and then we'll see about making quick work of finding the next few.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So all that and just kind of interacting with Evan, I kind of said, do you have any interest in being one of our state reps? This is a great fit, I think. And he said, yeah, I'd be honored to. So there you go. So I'm glad to have you on board, Evan, and I think you'll be a great fit. Just interacting with you, I know that as far as just your attitude and your personality and your interests, you're just going to mesh super well with the group that we've got between the board here in Charleston and the state reps around the country. So again, I just wanted to welcome you to Release Over 20.
Opportunity.
So, yeah, thanks.
Welcome, for sure. I visited that Panhandle area. I don't even know how many dozens of times throughout my life. It's beautiful down there, so it's really cool.
It's very special. And I grew up. Mobile Bay is my home fishery, and it's tidal rivers and estuaries. I landed in Florida in 2010 and got a taste of it for a few years, and then left and had to go do other things, build my career in X, Y, and Z. And when I landed back down here with a new vision about ecology and conservation and fishing and everything that I was trying to accomplish, and got back down here and looked around and saw that things had changed since I was here previously, I had to immediately start thinking about what happened, how did it happen, and how do I reverse that? And now here we are.
Mm-hmm. So you sent me recently your CV, and I got to say it's quite impressive. So tell everyone what about your education and what you do as your research and stuff like that.
So I am a wildlife biologist by career, and then pretty standard to that, to be slightly tangential. It came from a lifetime of being a dedicated outdoorsman. That my parents got me started early. Just briefly, I was talking to my parents about this yesterday. My mom was like, "Yeah, we got you started early." My dad did construction, and he was on Fort Morgan Road in Alabama one day doing a job on somebody's house, and she was fishing those marshes that are at the fort down there while she was pregnant with me, and kept having to go interrupt him because she kept catching bass on plastic worms out of these marshes down there around the beach. And he's like, "I'm trying to work. You need to quit catching all these fish." And I was in there, man. That's where it started. She was keeping him from doing his work while out there catching bass while I was inside. So it was an early thing, but So I chose to do the terrestrial route for career building, because I was exceptionally hesitant to make my biggest passion, which is fishing. I enjoy hunting and I enjoy doing lots of things, but fishing is my thing. And there's only been one thing in my entire life that's been able to fully reel me in, and that's catching speckled trout and trying to do it to the greatest amount of technicality and detail possible and try to catch the biggest one that exists and throw it back. That took a long time to develop to that extent. So I was very hesitant to do that for a day job. I didn't want to potentially ruin my passion. And I saw more opportunity for my interest and growth for my career terrestrially. So that's where I started. And through long ways of research with whitetail deer, eastern wild turkeys, quail, marsh birds. We did some work in the Everglades with hydrology and snail kites and endangered species. Did a lot of research-based applied ecology. And that's what I built my career around. And then I kind of got to the point where it was time for me to move back to Florida. I was in Georgia. I was the private lands biologist. I'll fast forward through a career of studying all of these things. I went back to Auburn University for graduate school part 3. I was going to do my PhD. Realized there were things about academia that I didn't want to go there. I was like, okay, I'll just step back. I'll finish that. We'll research and learn what we did. And I did effects of planning density and management on the balance between timber stand structure and wildlife habitat quality in longleaf pine systems. And that, from a conservation perspective at the terrestrial scale, that's one of the biggest conservation movements that's happening now, is reversing the trend of what's happened. Hey, Jimmy Skinner, right on, man. What's happened with longleaf is happening with fisheries as well. You're talking about a 97% reduction in coverage of an important, cover type that was transitioned to other things, and then 60%. So in like 2003, 2004, for example, I won't ramble too much on it. 66% of species that were classified as declined or threatened in the United States were associated with longleaf pine systems. And I saw a window. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to be in on. And then I built that, so we researched it. And then I was fortunate enough, the Georgia Wildlife Federation got some funding through the National Wildlife Federation and a NIFWIF grant, some other things. to fund a private lands biologist position to provide at no cost technical assistance to landowners in Georgia in focal areas for longleaf restoration, and then just general ecological well-being and anything else we need to talk about. And I took that and ran with it, and working with the landowners and helping them better understand their properties, reduce their overwhelming factors, and see the potential of the properties moving forward, and to watch them get excited about it and get fired up. That's how potentially those properties don't become Walmart in 40 years. Mm-hmm. And when I started seeing that and landowners were telling me they were excited about it and they couldn't wait to tell people, I knew that I was like, all right, now I have to leave them with a to-do list. I got to get them I got to tell them from overwhelmed to underwhelmed. Then I got to get them motivated and excited. And then I got to give them a punch list so we carry that momentum. And I did it, and it was exceptional. But I needed to be back in Florida so I'd be with my now wife, and I needed to be salty, man. I was up there on a lake having a big time, catching lots of crappie and stripers and hybrids. But I found myself having to kill a big 3-pound crappie that I would never even contemplate killing, because when you fillet one that size, it looks like a triggerfish fillet. And I was stuck on a lake in Georgia and needed to be on a beach in Florida. So I was having to go kill a big fish I didn't want to kill just so I could pan sear it in coconut oil, make sangria, and turn on some Margaritaville and go there in my mind. And I had to embrace that. And I was like, all right, I got to get back to Florida. And so when I got back down here, I quit my day job and went private enterprise. And that's when I was like, okay, I got the terrestrial part down, and I've built a lifetime of a skill set with fishing that now I feel like I can apply. And I also got to the point where I had my buddies on the bow of my boat, and they're like, man, you want to get in on this? I'm like, no, y'all keep catching them. Y'all are having fun, man. Because that's what one of my mentors, my parents got me started. Shout out to them, of course. But my mentor that got me into big time trout fishing was Captain Tim String on Mobile Bay. And he was the one that helped put me in a position to where my fishing went to the next level. And with that came great responsibility. Now that we're catching those big giant fish, to not kill them. And then everything changed for me. And it was just like terrestrial conservation. It all made sense. And so when I got down here, I was like, okay, all right, how do I make a career out of this? And I accepted that I was in a position now to where I could take people fishing and enjoy them catching fish more than me being the one having to catch them. And I took a deep breath and I said, okay, now I'm ready. And it was at a point for my career development and entrepreneurship that it became a necessity. So I was like, all right, I'll start doing wildlife habitat management, consulting, private lands management. And then I'll get my captain's license, and then I'll figure out how to start fishing for a day job. I'll incorporate that into it. So I named my company Tall Pines, Tight Lines. Got a neat little ring to it. And my catch slogan, I put it out there, is land or sea, you can count on me. And I went with it. And that was 21. That was 2021. And then I just kind of had to figure out the hustle along the way. I ended up going back to alligator wrestling part-time for a little bit. I'd done about 7 years of that kind of stuff, and just started trying to figure out what I was going to do. Took the hustle to the next level.
Okay, so you brought it up, so we got to time out there for a second. You got to hit the brakes or pump the brakes, and we need to hear about the alligator wrestling.
I don't have brakes, Dave. Yeah, that one was to not be too long-winded about it. I came home from college part one and had an idea what I wanted to achieve, and knew that I would need to go back to school if I was going to take that route with my career. But I didn't do a great job of having great GRE scores and graduate school lined up before I graduated. I don't know what got me so distracted. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I came back down this way, and I happened upon a friend of mine from high school. He had an Alligator Alley t-shirt on. Shout out to Wesley Moore. He was the brilliant mind that created this. And I said, hey, man, what's that? And he says, this alligator place not too far from where your folks live. Yeah, here's his number. Call him. I call him up. And I said, hey, man, told him what I was up to. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be around for 6 months, 5 years. I'm just not sure. I don't know exactly what happens next. I have to figure that out. And I probably should be a decent human being, get a job along the way. And he's like, sure, man. I'll hire him. We're still trying to figure it out too. I'll pay you this much. And if you get eaten and you survive it, I'll get you out of the hospital. That's about what we can do. And I was like, you got yourself an alligator, man. And so you flash forward to some unknown period in time that just kind of awake one day, and he and I are standing there in a sea of alligators, poking them with hickory sticks, throwing pig's legs to them, telling corny jokes to people from Michigan. I was like, wow, here we find ourselves. I'll have to send you some of those pictures from back in the day. And it was epic, man. We wrestled alligators and talked to people about nature all day, and we fished on the weekends and after work. And And then we grew dove fields and shot birds and we shot deer and we traveled and killed ducks and caught fish and wrestled alligators and had a blast. I was like, man, this is and that's when I got my scuba certification when I was at the University of West Florida. I was teaching there when we were doing our work in the Everglades. One of my students was the dive master or whatever he was for the scuba club, and he had one open spot for scuba. I got my scuba certification, and we swim out past the second sandbar, sitting 35 feet of water. Next thing I know, I'm coming off of 4 years of alligator wrestling, and I'm swimming with sharks. And I was like, okay, this isn't it. I got to rethink what I'm doing here. And that's when I tightened up and tried to figure out what I was going to do next. So fast forward, we did that. I survived it, and I went back.
Tell people like about just one time you almost got killed by an alligator.
Yeah, the time that I most directly almost got eaten. I haven't told this story in a long time.
Okay. Hold on one second. This is Evan.
Yeah, I'm that guy. Yeah, we did that.
It's a giant.
You should have seen me put that one in a headlock right after that. And I did a backflip and landed on his head.
That looks like a dinosaur, not an alligator.
They don't get much bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, when your buddy says it was bigger, it's on that note, people be like, man, we was in a 16-foot boat and that thing was 2 foot longer than either end of the boat. It was 18 foot. And I'm thinking, dude, your math's not even right. But anyway, that they don't get much bigger than that one. But we do these alligator feeding shows, and I encourage anybody out there to go see it. It's Alligator Alley in Summerdale, Alabama. And the YouTube channel is epic because Damian Hale, he's on the top of that with getting that going. Anyway, shout out to Hale. What's up, Colonel? But anyway, so we do these alligator feeding shows 3 times a day. Come see the local redneck, come poke alligators with a stick and feed it chicken and pig parts. You know, that's what people were expecting. And it was kind of that, but it was also exceptionally informative. And, you know, we're genuinely talking to people about stuff bigger than, hey, man, how big's that one? We're talking about ecology and this, that, and the other. That's all tangential, but so 3 times a day, you get to see us come out, walk up to a sea of alligators, navigate through it, and then, you know, say, good afternoon, folks. You know, my name's Evan Wheeler, and apparently I'm an idiot. And I got surrounded one day. I had 3 exceptionally large. They weren't quite as big as that one, but they were very big. And I was surrounded to both directions. I didn't have an exit strategy. There's 30, 45 of them on the bank. They're everywhere. There's 3 really big ones in front of me. I got 1 pig leg or whatever I had left. And I'm backed up to an 8-foot chain link fence and all the customers that are there behind me. And so I look and the 3 big ones are high walking, head up, coming straight to me. And I hadn't experienced it to that level at that point. And I was like, uh-oh. And I'd had a lot of uh-ohs. And I just grabbed whatever I had and I kind of threw it out to the center of the 3 of them. 2 went for it. The 3rd one kept coming. So I Hank Aaron'd it with a hickory stick enough to slow it down and kind of make its head do that. And I grabbed the chain link fence and proceed to throw myself over it. And as that alligator swung back like that after that and lunged for me, no joke, the top of its jaw brushed the bottom of my trailing foot as I threw myself over that fence and landed in the bushes. And look, there's 300 people sitting there going. And I was like, well, show's over. I'm not going back in there.
Not part of the show.
Yeah. And there was this little lady on the front row that I'd been talking to before that. And in the nature of what we were doing, we commonly get asked, how in the world did you end up doing this, right? And she says, yeah, you know, I told her I came back from college and need a job. And she says, young man, didn't you tell me that you went to college? And I said, yes, ma'am. She says, you're supposed to go to college so you don't have to do dangerous stuff like that. And I'm literally just laying here in the bushes, and that thing just tried to eat me. And I just look at her and I said, ma'am, that's a lot safer than most stuff I did in college. It was just one of those moments where I was like, man, that was close. I should probably think about other things.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
I hope you got hazardous duty pay.
There came with a lot of perks to the job. I met some of the most important people in my life that are now the people that I hunt and fish with. It's interesting how I noticed that about myself in my adult life, that I gravitate to the people that I want to hunt and fish with.
Yeah.
And if they're doing it if they're performing at a peak level and doing it the right ways for the right reasons, I gravitate to those people. And it's not because I want anything from them or I need anything from them. It's just the kind of people I want to be around because they're going to make me better. And those guys took me under their wing because they had access to things that I previously didn't. And that's how I got to start shooting more doves and get better shooting a shotgun. That's how I got to have the water time to develop the skill set that I needed, that when I got back down here and needed to get a captain's license and start running a boat and make some change and build my career and my household forward, it all came into play right there. And it made perfect sense.
Awesome. So, well, just to circle back to Release Over 20, like you mentioned to me a little bit, like what did you see in your area that kind of alarmed you or sort of drew you towards us?
So I discovered the initiative when I was still in Georgia. So it was on my radar. And I discovered it through Speckled Truth because I discovered their podcast and their organization, and I discovered the Northwest Florida Fishing Report while I was in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And those things resonated heavily in my mind when I was in the process of having to try to figure out how to get out of there and get back down here anyway. And it all made sense. And I saw the organization. I was like, I love what they're doing. I can't wait to go back down for my next trip to the beach and go hop in the boat with either my dad or Tim or somebody. I want to go catch a big one. I can't wait to submit it. Right. And I was so stoked whenever I caught the first citation fish that I caught, and I got to get my first citation through Speckled Truth. I was totally fired up. And then when I got to send in my first Release Over 20 submission, I was like, all right, okay. So that's where it started building. And then when I got back down here with the intent of potentially getting my captain's license and starting to run trips, then I got super duper excited about the idea of the guide category. I was like, okay, that's my next step, because it's easy for me on my own time to pick the right set of conditions and go, I got a miner that's going to do this right about at a wind switch. The tide's going to be going that way. And that flat right there that's normally 18 inches deep is going to have 24 to 30 inches of water in it right at a moonrise peak. And everything's going to be just right. And I can go catch her and take a picture of her and let her go. Like, that's where my mind went, right? So when I was here previously, I was fishing either on foot or out of a kayak. And then eventually the wet spot, which a lot of people that are out there hopefully fished on that boat with me. It was a 1976 McKee craft. And it didn't even have a trolling motor. I had a paddle first. And I caught a lot of really quality fish in an area that I knew nothing about. And it fired me up that I could catch those over here in addition to other places. And then I was like, okay, this is really cool. And I was catching good quality fish. I don't think I ever caught one over 8 pounds here while I was here previously, but I caught a lot of 6 and 7 pound fish, good upper 20 inch, lost 2 30s, not here. That was in Alabama, and started developing that passion for really big fish at that point. And so when I got back down here and started fishing again and checking those areas that's where I started to rebuild, like take the base data set and then expand it. Started going to these places, and I showed up, years later with an advanced skill set from where I was previously and couldn't find those same fish. The fish were still there, but they were 3 to 4 and 5 pound fish instead of 6s and 7s. And there were fewer of them. So spots that I used to be able to go catch 25, 30 trout in the morning, have half that bag be between 4 and 6 pounds, and do it relatively consistently on lures. I was lucky to catch a half dozen fish that day, and maybe one of them was over 3 pounds. And I'm going, okay, I know I don't suck at fishing. I'm not the world's greatest by any means, but I'm doing the right things in the right places. That makes sense. And the fish are here, which confirms that, yes, you put together X, Y, and Z, put together a plan, you go there, and then you execute, and it happens. And so I started asking around. And honestly, the first thing I did when I moved back after unloading the U-Haul, the next morning, I went straight to Gulf Breeze Bait and Tackle. I've been waiting to tell them about this. Big shout out to them, because they have been a huge proponent of this fishery and this movement. They were the first people around here in the professional industry like that to embrace my passion for exactly what we're doing right now. And they helped me grow it, and never once were inconvenienced by it or anything. They were fully supportive and on board. And that was huge. But that's the first place I went when I moved back. I didn't need anything. I bought a bunch of pompano jigs I've never even used. I spent probably close to 2 hours walking up and down the aisles, just breathing deeply, smelling the smells, and going,
Soft plastic.
Yeah, I started asking around, where'd the fish go? And they're like, how long you been gone? I'm like, because it's a clear water fishery. Pensacola Bay is very, very small. It's very deep, and there is a ridiculous amount of people around here utilizing the resource. And this conversation has happened a billion times. There's 10 million more people here, but there's not 10 million more available areas of increase for the habitat. I could have phrased that better, but the population, the pressure, and the depletion on the fishery increased. The size of the fishery and the potential of the fishery did not. And that definitely wasn't linear either. And so I started asking people what happened. They're just like, man, there's just too many people, and they're still killing them. And there's just not as many fish as there were. And I was like, is anybody around here promoting that, hey, we probably shouldn't be killing the bigger trout because there's not a lot of them and it's kind of important that we don't kill them? No, not really. And then it all made sense, man. I discovered Release Over 20 Speckled Truth when I was in Georgia to wrap my mind around the motivation I needed to get out of Georgia and get back down here to Florida and get to work. And then it became very clear in a very short period of time when I returned that there was a very negative trend on the populations of this bay and a positive trend as far as like numerically on the pressure and depletion. Mm-hmm. And showing up at a tournament weigh-in and throwing blood on the mink coats isn't how you stop that. Mm-hmm. I had to wrap my mind around that. And when I started to feel kind of like this tension about like, why are people still doing this? You know, it's like the only way for me to wrap my mind around how I could send a positive message was to promote this organization in a positive light. It's not to chastise people that are still killing big trout unnecessarily. It's to promote the right message in the right way and say, hey man, it's not necessary. And here's some additional, because unfortunately, and you guys saw this directly, some people need incentive to do the right thing. Right. Instead of just inherently wanting to. Right. And some people's minds, we will never change. And I get that. But I felt that I finally had a platform and a voice for me to not burn people up that were doing stuff I didn't agree with, rather to promote a message that is a positive one. And so I was like, okay, now I need to see what kind of fish are really around here. But I was running a production boat for a volume company, random bookings out of the beach. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. But I'm going to figure out how to do this, you know? And so next thing I know, I'm picking up Jim and Betty and the grandkids at 7 a.m. on a Saturday in the middle of summer going, hey, y'all want to go try to catch the biggest speckled trout in the bay? And they're like, what are those? Yeah. But I had to.
Sharks?
Yeah, I had to see if they were still there. And I had to let enough of the right people know that they do exist. And because, hey, Magar, hey, man, oh, that's Catfish Magar right there. Great guy. But that was the thing. It's like, until they see the potential of what the fishery could be, there's a certain portion of people that will never appreciate it. And those actions and those trends that need to change won't happen. So I kind of didn't want to blow the bay up and be like, all right, there's still some big fish here, everybody. And I, you know, and I'm riding around in a boat that's got a wrap on it. You know, I can't hide, man. But I just had to do it. I was like, I'm going to blow some of these spots out, unfortunately. But if you're fishing spots, you're not that good at what you're doing anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going down that road. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, these are all spots, you know, whatever. I'll just go look around. And it just culminated into, okay, now this is what I'm supposed to be doing it. Now I have a reach beyond me just recreationally going and catching a big one in absolutely perfect conditions. That's cool. But for what I saw happening around here, that wouldn't be sufficient. And that was when I was totally stoked to get on the guides program when you brought me in on that. And then I got to start building it from that perspective. So everybody that was on my boat got that message. Anybody that followed my Instagram and Facebook, which I'm terrible at, by the way, they see that message. And that was my platform and my mission for that. And you guys embraced that. And now you've given me the opportunity to move that forward. And here we are. And I appreciate it.
That's awesome. And, you know, it's been really rewarding seeing some guide programs like come out and say, our policy now is release over 20. Like whoever catches one over 20 is going back, you know, and it's, I hope we see more of that in the future, you know, because that really can make a difference.
I will say that if I had any doubt in my mind that the people who were with me on the boat that morning weren't going to understand that we're going to throw that fish back or we're going to fight back about it or have anything negative to say about it, guess what? We didn't go anywhere near where they live. Mm-hmm. You know, when folks got on the boat and all they cared about was how many pounds of fillets are we leaving here with today, Cap? I said, you booked an adventure, not fillets. And it was the craziest thing. Some of those days, they just didn't bite that well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Evan. It's been awesome to get to have you sort of tell your story to everyone and get to know you. If you live in the Pensacola area, I hope you look them up. And, you know, I'm sure that, like, along with our other state reps, like, we leave it kind of open-ended, you know, to do what you think needs to be done in your area to promote the cause and kind of come up with your own creative ways to do it. And if you want to help Evan out in that regard, I'm sure he could, he'd be glad to do it and spread the word and get those trifolds out there. And, we always say it's like turning around an ocean liner, like, you turn the wheel and you wait for something to happen, and very, very slowly it starts to turn. That's how we feel like we're just kind of planting seeds with Release Over 20, and then they're going to start to germinate and grow over time. And I think we've seen that happen already, but there's a whole lot more to go for sure. So thanks for being a part of it, and honored to have you. So we'll say the last things you'd like to say before we continue on. Just go for it.
I think we pretty well covered. I got a bad habit of being long-winded when I get excited.
No, that's all right.
So I'll leave it there, man. I just encourage people to do the right thing for the right reasons and enjoy the process.
Awesome.
Welcome. We're glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go back to our presentation here and continue on. So at this point, we usually talk about our results for the last month. So we haven't posted the guides leaderboard yet, so I don't have that listed here. So I apologize for that. But we do have the other leaderboards from the state top 10. Virginia took back their lead that they've had for almost the entire history of Release Over 20 over South Carolina. South Carolina's been sort of dominating the last few months. And Virginia, it's that time of year where they're just putting the smackdown on the fish. And they also have like the trout pool going on, so we're getting a lot of entries from them. But I wanted to point out New Jersey in number 3, which is really cool. I think we're going to start seeing more of the Northeast states rising the leaderboard as we added striper. But this is not actually striper. This is last month, so we didn't track striper. It's actually sheep's head and flounder, as you'll see as we go on here. So to make the top 10, we had to have at least 9 entries, which was Alabama. Overall angler leaderboard, Robert Montana was in the lead with 54 entries. Took 14 to make the top 10. And what you're seeing here, if you recognize some of these names, it's a lot of Virginians. And Daniel, you'll see with 25 entries. Guys, this is 25 flounder. Daniel is actually one of our iStrike team members, and I know Daniel pretty well. He's a very, very serious angler who's very targeted in what he does, and he's very, very focused on big flounder, and he's doing it on foot. And he had 25 over 20 inches last month, which is very, very impressive. Top 10 for speckled trout. Stan Simmerman from Virginia is in the lead with 41 in October. It makes me laugh because I haven't caught 41 trout over 20 inches in probably 10 years. maybe 5 years. I don't know, but that's pretty amazing. It took 8 to make the top 10. Medell out there with 8. Our own Cliff Hall from Louisiana with an impressive 9 fish from Louisiana. So pretty awesome. Our top 10 red drum, Robert Montana with 44. Michael Santoro, who got to take fishing recently in this month. One of those, I think, was his with me. Great guy from Virginia. It took 7 to make the top 10 with Becky. And yours truly here, number 5. I've just been catching 1, 2, 3 each trip and just participating. There you have it's awesome. For flounder, there's Daniel with his 25, rounding out the. We had five individuals enter at least one fish. Ian Pelto, a friend of mine here from South Carolina, with one, and had 3 sheep's head entered from individual anglers. So if you look at our leaderboards, you might say, well, that doesn't add up because there's more sheep's head entered. The sheep's head entered from captains doesn't go into this bucket because these are individual anglers in the leaderboard, just so you know. So that being said, let's give away some prize packs. I'm going to hand it off to Kerry to talk about what he threw into our different packs.
Well, you see the picture there. So I'll just go through it. You got the Prime Goncho Cap, Mud Minnow Gator. I reached out to Mud Minnow and they're back on board again. So haven't seen the merchandise yet, but we've been talking and they want to get back involved. Pure Flat Soft Plastics. Just got a whole new batch of that in. So Greg Sample is back on board too. Mirror 36 MR, I Strike, release over 20 3/16 3-pack, and Drum Spots Blue Large T.
Nice. So we have 155 client entries to choose from, 155, and let's see. We're going to do the randomizer. So this 155, and we roll it 3 times. The third roll will be the winner. First roll is 45. Second, 32. The winner is 128, which is Captain Jimmy Skinner with his client Kurt Bootifish with a 21-inch red drum. And talking to Jimmy, what he usually does is he puts the name of like one person in the guide in the party, the client party, and then I go and I look for this fish, and I'll send him the picture, and then he'll be able to tell exactly who it was. So it might not have been Kurt, but it was someone in his group. But congrats to Captain Jimmy. He had another strong month. He might have been the leader. Jimmy, I'm sorry. I know you're listening, but I didn't have that leaderboard to show. But great job. Glad to see you win. Of course, the more entries that you put in, the better your chance to win. And case in point is Jimmy Skinner. He's won several months for his clients. Okay, so I'll go to giveaway A.
Giveaway A is a hook cap, a hydro scalar koozie, which I met this hydro scalar guy at not Cast for iCast a couple years ago, and pretty cool little deal. He scales fish with water. It's a cool system. I'm gonna have to look back into it and get back to you guys later. But Drum Spots playing cards, Epoch Batteries sunglasses, Drum Spot T-shirt, Military Heather medium. That's it.
Okay. In the main draw, we have 703 entries. That's one thing we didn't mention is how many entries we had. It was a lot. It would have been an all-time record. 875 or something like that. Wow. Giant number. So
cool.
Let's see. 703 is the number. And let's roll for that one. So first roll is 578, second 362, and the winner is 175. 175. Which is Stan Zimmerman from Virginia with a 22-inch trout. Congrats, Stan. Stan is on our leaderboard. The more you enter, the better chance of winning, right? So we got our Virginia. Okay, so let's look at giveaway B.
All right, so giveaway B. There's an Arctic ice small green. You freeze those things, put them in your cooler. They're awesome. Pure Flats soft plastics got Greg Sample back on board. He's sent us a bunch of stuff. Epoch batteries, mouse pad, drum spots, green tea large, and coastal swim baits.
The peanut, the hottest top water in the land.
Yeah.
That color, by the way, is my favorite. I've been smacking them on that thing. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so we're going to roll for our second one. First roll is 147, second 389, and the winner is 250. 250, which is our own Cliff Hall, State Rep for Louisiana, the 20-inch trout. Congrats, Cliff. Nice. I think that's the first time Cliff's ever won. Love
First
to see
hearing his name.
Yeah, love to see Louisiana on the board.
Yeah.
That is pretty sweet, if you ask me. Okay. Back to giveaway C.
Okay, so giveaway C is Incognito mosquito spray, and shout out to Reagan Norse. He took Adam and I wade fishing for stripers the last summer, and we had a ball. Mercer Sports 7-inch fillet knife, Mercer Sports knife sheath. It's a really nice package. An AFCO shirt, Z-Man jerk shad redfish toad, Mirror 18MR, and AFCO Keef float.
Nice.
And by the way, David, all of these giveaways are retail value between $75 and $110 or whatever, however they come in. But they're, you do that 4 times. I got to shout out to our sponsors to just say thanks, because we're giving away $350 plus every month, and it's just not. I mean, that's it all adds up. So
I did a sort of a back of the napkin calculation, and it's roughly $20,000 worth of merch we've given away since inception. Just
wow,
pretty damn cool. Thank you so much to our sponsors for allowing that to happen.
Adam,
I really want to throw some of those redfish toads.
Adam, eyes on here. Quit watching your game. I know the Bengals are winning.
All right, let's get this over so Adam can get back to his game.
Yeah.
Okay, the first roll was 65, second was 350, and the winner is 535. Way down the list. $535 is Bobby Mizell from Virginia with a 23-inch red drum. So congrats to our winners. And we have one more to go. And that is the Virginia trout pool for October. So the people that are involved with the trout pool in Virginia, we have a little side thing going where if they enter their releases in our program, we'll do a special giveaway for a hat and a shirt. And we're going to do, this is the second out of 3 months. So in our entries, we have 33 entries from the trout pool. So they just had to put a comment in the comment section. And so let's go ahead and pick a winner for that, 33. Okay, third roll win, 29, 9, and the winner is 9 again, which is Kevin Hughes from Virginia for the 20.5-inch trout.
Nice.
So congrats to Kevin. We'll be, as we do every year or every week, every month, it's been a long week, I will email the winners and get their addresses. We'll send the packages out to them. And the decals should be coming soon. My company, iStrike, just had a big sale. So our person who does our order fulfillment is the same one who does our decals. So she's kind of busy. So hopefully she'll get those decals out as soon as possible. Beginning in December, we'll be giving away +1 decals for Striper. So be on the lookout for your mailbox for the decals to show up, and we will see you all,
David,
next month. Yes, sir.
You said you had a big sale, or you're having a big sale? Because Keith and I were fishing on the boat yesterday, in fact, and he was like, I got to order a bunch of that. And I said, I do too. Is it over?
It's over. You missed it.
Damn it.
November
Well, I was on
3rd.
vacation. You're killing me.
November
Carrie,
3rd.
I can sell you some.
Okay, Michael, I'm gonna keep you. I'm gonna hold you to that.
I have a slight addiction. I need to throw some back to the college
Good.
fund. So
Okay, great.
I'll be in touch. We'll work something out.
Okay, great. I've got a couple guys actually lined up for it. So.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all of you and what you do, and we'll be in touch and talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
All right. Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.